Hello again, I hope it didn't feel too long. I'm sure you know by now, I'm just a guy trying to make a fanfiction on YouTube. I'm going to be using this method more often, considering my actual voice recordings aren't loud enough most of the time. I honestly didn't want to do this part 1 part 2 thing again in this story, but I don't want to make it 40 or 50 minutes long like the last time, at least until the last chapter, so I feel that it's necessary to divide this from 2 parts, considering how long it is. So here in chapter 9, is honestly part 1 based on an episode of The Flash, which was a Christmas episode, hence the name of this chapter and the next. But I'm sure you'd rather get into the very story itself, so by all means, let's go ahead and get into it.
Chapter 9. Merry Christmas Part 1. Both Pietro and Linda were cuddling. Pietro was kissing Linda's neck, and Linda was giggling and feeling like the happiest woman in the world. Linda's gaze wandered, her thoughts swirling like a maelstrom, as the weight of her emotions threatened to consume her. Memories, fears, and doubts collided in a chaotic dance, leaving her breathless and bewildered. The silence between her and Pietro grew, a palpable force that seemed to vibrate with the intensity of her inner turmoil. She's never stayed in one place for too long, always keeping people at arm's length. But Pietro's charming smile and genuine nature have her wanting to break her own rules. The thought of settling down, of being vulnerable with him, makes her heart skip a beat, not with fear, but with a thrill of uncertainty. She recalls their previous conversations, how Pietro had been willing to give up his old ways for her, and how she had surprised herself by saying she'd stay with him. It's a daunting prospect, but she can't shake off the feeling that Pietro might be worth the risk. As Pietro holds her close, Linda's thoughts swirl with conflicting emotions. She's afraid of getting hurt, of losing her freedom, but she's also drawn to the possibility of something real with Pietro. She looks up at him, searching for answers in his eyes. As Pietro holds Linda close, he can't help but feel a sense of wonder. He's always been driven by his need for speed, his desire to push beyond his limits and feel the rush of adrenaline. But with Linda, it's different. She brings a sense of calm, a sense of belonging he's never known before. Even with Barry and the team, he's always felt like an outsider, a stranger in a strange world. But Linda understands him in a way no one else does. It feels almost like the connection he has with his twin sister. She sees beyond his cocky grin and his love of speed, to the vulnerable heart beneath. For the first time in his life, Pietro feels like he's found something that can keep up with him, something that can match his speed and his passion. Linda's quiet strength, her sharp wit, and her beautiful smile all captivate him. As he looks into her eyes, he realizes that he's found something he never knew he needed, a sense of wholeness. Not just the place, but Linda herself. She's his refuge and the reason he feels so complete and fulfilled. And he knows he'll do anything to hold on to her, to keep her safe and happy. In his arms, Pietro feels a sense of satisfaction and contentment he's never known before. It's not just about the thrill of the chase or the rush of speed, it's about being still, being present, and being loved for who he truly is. Though the moment was interrupted when Cisco walked in and asked awkwardly if he was interrupting anything. Pietro and Linda exchanged a brief, awkward glance, their intimate moment shattered by Cisco's sudden arrival. "Oh, hey, Cisco," Pietro said, trying to sound nonchalant despite still feeling annoyed by the obvious interruption. "And yes, you kind of are," Pietro says awkwardly. "Oh, sorry, but you know about the Christmas party at the West House, right?" Cisco asks. "Yes, you must have forgotten you told me," Pietro said. "Yeah, I must have," Cisco says. "Well, we've already agreed we'd go together. What about you? You going with that Kendra girl you were with?" Linda asked. "No, actually. She actually has powers of her own, so she decided to go off with the Legends. She's gonna be a part of that group now. She said that she'd get started right away." Cisco said almost sadly. "So you two are," Pietro began. "Yeah, but I'll be okay, really. I mean, I'm sure she'll make some new friends there, maybe even find someone special," Cisco said with exasperated sarcasm. Pietro sighed, and apologized both to and for Cisco, then gave Linda a kiss on the cheek and held her tight again. Cisco left them alone once more, smiling as he went out of the room, secretly envious of the two. As Cisco went back into the cortex, he rolled his eyes at the sight of both Caitlin and Jay talking about ways to close the breaches. "It means a lot," Caitlin said with sincerity and gratitude. "What does?" Jay asked. "You, looking after Barry. He's been through a lot the last few weeks," Caitlin says with the same gratitude and sincerity she had before. Barry's not the only person here I want to keep safe. Jay said to Caitlin with sincerity. Oh my god. There's no escaping the love, is there? Cisco asked in an exasperated yet sad monotone. What's with him? Jay asked Caitlin in a low voice. Oh, Cisco and Kendra broke up some time ago, so I guess, seeing two people together makes him kind of touchy right now. Caitlin answered. So is everything alright? Caitlin asked. Yeah, I've been checking a lot, but all's quiet on the metahuman front. Hey, you think Zoom decided to take Christmas off? Cisco asked. What's Christmas? Jay asked. Oh, well, it's this holiday we have where we cut down trees, and sing songs to celebrate the birth of a baby 2,000 years ago, and then the Romans killed him so we give each other gifts. Caitlin explained. Really, that's your explanation? Cisco asked with exasperated sarcasm. I'm just kidding, I know what Christmas is. Jay said with a smile. Oh, of course, Caitlin said with an almost flustered laugh. You know, Joe and Barry and Iris are having people over for Christmas Eve, and they said we can invite whoever we want. Caitlin said with a somewhat hopeful face. Who do you want? Jay asked with a small and nervous stutter. You, I want to invite you, I mean. Caitlin said. Oh god, this is both annoying and painful to watch, have either of you seen Harry? Cisco asked. No, I have not, I told him to rest, he's just as stubborn as the rest of all my other male patients in this place. Caitlin said with a hint of annoyance. I'm going to leave you two alone, Kay. I'm going to go find Harry. Cisco said. But when Cisco turned around to the exit of the cortex, he almost instantly saw Harry standing right behind him. Ho, Lee Hannah, everything okay? Cisco asks. Of course, why wouldn't it be? Harry said before quickly walking away. Cisco scoffs, mumbling to himself in a mocking manner, repeating Harry's words. Why wouldn't it be? Then makes a big sarcastic grin, not showing how visibly annoyed at Harry's sarcasm. At the Iron Heights prison. There's a snow blizzard that is so strong, it was rattling the windows. Wow, it's really coming down out there. The news didn't say anything about snow. One of the guards said. Must be a Christmas miracle. A guard behind the reception counter said. Then the window quickly broke, showing that the storm was so strong, it knocked a guard off of his feet. Then the front doors burst open and a man smiled and said, "Let it snow." Then as the guard ran from behind the desk, he tried to call out a report to the radio on his shoulder, but the man made a strong gust of wind so strong, it blasted him into a wall. Walking deeper into the facility, he stopped at a certain cell and said, "Knock knock." It was a man in a blue jumpsuit, and his name is Leonard Snart. Then after the man, who seems to have control over the weather, broke open the cell door by forming a giant ball of hail, the man said. So, early parole, you interested? Mark Martin. Leonard Snart said slowly. As Leonard was following Mark, he said. Don't mean to be a nooge, but the exit is upstairs. Just need one more thing. Mark said while walking with a map in his hands. They passed a sign that said, Maximum Security Ward. Then as Mark Martin tossed the map away, Mark smiled, seeing the pictures and drawings of the Flash being brutalized and mutilated. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Leonard said while rolling his eyes in a dull manner. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The man in the glass prison said with a piece of licorice in his mouth. Mark's smile widened. 30 minutes later. Both Joe and Barry were walking through the facility, and Barry fearfully says, "Tell me this isn't happening. It's official, Santa hates us. This sudden blizzard took out both cameras and the security system. I mean, thank God nobody was killed, but there's no sign of Martin, Jesse, or Snart." Joe said. Oh, speaking of which, with Martin back on the scene, Patty might not be thinking so clearly. Joe said. What do you mean? What does Martin have to do with Patty? Barry asked. Quickly switching over to a scene in the maximum security ward where Patty picks up a bit of ice, and mumbled. I should have expected this. Then as both Joe and Barry walked in, Patty quickly said, the unexpected drop in barometric pressure had to mean Martin's back in town. Jesse was on full communication lockdown, but that doesn't mean Martin and Snart weren't in contact. Patty said. Patty, Joe told me about Martin. Barry said in a low, sympathetic voice. Patty looks to Joe and Joe looks at her with the sympathetic expression. She looks at Joe, who gives her a worried and sympathetic look. I can't talk to you about this. Patty said before quickly walking out of the room. Wait, Patty, Barry said, calling out to her. Barry quickly catches up to her, and Patty says, Look, Barry, you're a really sweet guy, but you have no idea what's going on in this city. Patty was rambling on, you don't even know that Harrison Wells. Patty stopped herself. Sorry, I don't have time to bring you up to speed. Patty said before walking away. That's ironic. Barry mumbled to himself. Patty, look, I care about you a lot. I don't want to see you do anything reckless. Barry said. I'm a cop. Going after criminals is in my job description, it's not reckless. And powers are not. Martin's going to answer for what he's done. Patty said before walking away in a determined fashion. Barry wanted to call out to her, but he silenced himself, because he understood why Patty feels the way she does. After all, he felt the same way towards the man who killed his mother. In an abandoned toy factory. Deck the halls with body parts from a girl named Holly, fa-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la. James Jesse, the trickster, sang. I don't remember those being the lyrics. Leonard Snart, Captain Cold, said in his normal slow monotone. I'm tremendously creative, that I can tell you. The trickster said. You better be. I didn't break you out. I didn't break either of you out 'cause I was looking to make new friends. Mark Martin, Weather Wizard, said. That's not the holiday spirit, Marky Mark. Christmas is a time for togetherness, and what says togetherness more than mass graves? Jesse asked. So why did you break us out? Leonard Snart asked. Well, I owed you one, and this guy, he's just crazy, that's a compliment. Mark said. James gives an appreciative head nod. But we all want the same thing. Mark says. Fashion advice? Snart asks. To see the Flash dead. Well, that was actually a New Year's resolution, but hey, I'm flexible. James says, straightening up his bow tie. That hasn't gone so well for anyone in this room. What makes you think you can stop him this time? Leonard asks. 3 against 1, plus, that one is not quite what he was. See, another speedster, dressed all in black only took him out a few weeks ago. He's vulnerable, he's weak. It's a mistake to underestimate him. Leonard said. With my power, his flair, gesturing to Jesse, and your smarts, we can put him in the ground for good. Mark said almost grimly. Tell me your plan. Snart said. Tell me you're in. Mark said. I'm thinking about it. Snart quickly said back. What's the matter? A few months in the clink made you soft, did it, Snart? Mark asked. Snart quickly drew out his cold gun, and Mark quickly made a large ball of hail. You wanted to dance? Mark asked. Boys, playing nice, mellow out Martin, don't have a slit, Snart. Here's an idea, we all go out, have a few drinks, kill some carolers, we'll all feel better. Jesse recommends. Snart lowers his gun. After Mark lowers his hands, making the ball of hail disappear, he says in a little voice, all right, so what's it going to be, Snart? Snart glares back, but doesn't answer. Back at STAR Labs. Ha ha ha, oh yeah, Captain Cold, Weather Wizard, and the Trickster. Cisco says. There's 3 of them, and 1 of you, I don't like those odds. Caitlin points out. And I'm gonna be no help without my speed. Jay says. Wow, you're all quick to forget that I'm here and with speed. Pietro says, feeling both forgotten and left out. Okay, 2 against 3, I still don't like those odds. Caitlin says. Oh, light bulb, I have an idea, Cisco said, getting everyone's attention. Most weather phenomena are marked, no pun intended, by a change of electric charge and pressure in the atmosphere. We can just map out those fluctuations to pinpoint his location. Barry said at the same time Cisco did. Then Cisco continued. Right, it would just be a matter of removing all the electricity from his immediate surroundings, Barry once again said along with Cisco. Attracting it to one spot, Barry once again says as if he's heard this before. At the same way a lightning rod does, but instead of a lightning rod we use a wand. Cisco's face drops, considering Barry kept up with every single word he said, including the wand part. Have we already had this conversation? Cisco asked. Kind of. Barry said. What does that mean? Harry asked. Alright, so when the last time Martin attacked, he generated a tidal wave that destroyed all of Central City. Barry answered. So, why aren't you all sleeping with the fishes? Harry asked. Earth 2 has the Godfather. Cisco asked. Every Earth has the Godfather, Vito. Harry answered. Jay nods in agreement with Harry. So I ran back through time, one day, into the past, and I got a do-over and I stopped Martin before he could hurt anyone. You shouldn't have messed with the timeline. Harry said. That's exactly what the other Wells said, so the good news is, in that timeline, you created the wand, and it worked. So now you have to do it again, for the first time, twice. Barry said. Yeah, no pressure. Cisco said. I can give you a hand. Jay suggested. Best of both worlds. Cisco asked. I like that, Jay said. Then both Jay and Cisco go off to work on the wand together. Wait, are you saying that we can time travel with our speed? Pietro asks, looking both wide-eyed and curious. Pietro, I know you're curious, but time travel is not something to take lightly. I've seen the consequences of messing with the timeline. Let's just focus on the present, okay? Barry says. Okay, I'll go train, Pietro said, determination flickering in his eyes. Wait, I'll go with you, Linda interjected, her voice brightening at the prospect of spending time with him. Okay, Pietro replied, scooping Linda up in a swift, smooth motion that left her laughing. With a burst of speed, they were gone, a whirlwind of motion. Barry couldn't help but chuckle, shaking his head at the young couple's energy. Barry noticed a somewhat frustrated look on Harry's face. You good, Harry? Barry asked. Yeah, why wouldn't I be? Harry said before walking away. Holiday blues. Can't be easy knowing that Zoom still has his daughter. Caitlin said. Yeah, alright, look, I'll be back, I have something I have to deal with. Barry exhaled as he walked off. With Linda and Pietro on the scientifically made treadmill. The treadmill, a sleek and enhanced machine specially made for a speedster, hummed to life as Pietro began to run. Silver streaks and white lightning trailed behind him, a testament to his incredible speed. Linda watched intently, her eyes fixed on the data streaming across the monitor in front of her. Keep pushing, Pietro, she encouraged, her voice firm but supportive. But as she was looking at Pietro's results, and comparing them to previous ones, as well as Barry's, she felt more shocked than she ever thought she could feel. She saw that Pietro's speed is a little more than just different, it was almost like his cellular structure was adapting to his speed in ways she'd never seen before, not even in Barry. The data hinted at a previously unknown symbiosis between Pietro's biology and his velocity, as if his body was evolving to harness his powers more efficiently. But what caught her attention was the unique energy signature, a blend of the Infinity Stone's power infusion from his native world and the Speed Force's energizing presence. It was as if the two energies were merging, creating a novel hybrid that amplified Pietro's abilities. Linda's eyes widened as she leaned in closer to the monitor, her mind racing with the implications. Pietro, this is incredible. Your speed isn't just increasing, it's evolving. The Infinity Stone's experiments and the Speed Force are combining within you, creating a new paradigm for your powers. Pietro slowed to a stop, his chest heaving with exertion. What does that mean? Linda's eyes sparkled with excitement. It means your body is learning to tap into both the Infinity Stone's power and the Speed Force's energy, creating a unique fusion that's amplifying your abilities. You're not just fast, Pietro, you're becoming a conduit for a new kind of speed. Pietro's expression turned thoughtful, his eyes clouding with wonder. What kind of speed? Linda hesitated, unsure how to phrase her next words. A speed that has the potential to rival the Speed Force itself. But we need to be cautious, this new hybrid energy could also come with unforeseen risks and consequences. Linda's eyes sparkled with theoretical curiosity. Pietro, your energy signature suggests a fascinating phenomenon. It's as if your body is generating a novel resonance, harmonizing the Speed Force with whatever speed you had before. Pietro's gaze narrowed. What do you mean? Linda hesitated, exploring the idea. I think you might be creating a new faction of the Speed Force, one that's separate from the traditional Speed Force. Pietro's expression turned thoughtful, his eyes clouding with introspection. He paced around the room, his mind racing. I need to give this thing a name. Something that captures what it feels like. Linda watched, intrigued. What do you have in mind? Pietro stopped pacing, his eyes snapping with inspiration. I want to call it the Infinity Force. It feels infinite, boundless. Like there's no limit to what I can do. Linda's eyebrows rose, a smile spreading. I think that's perfect, Pietro. The Infinity Force. It suits this new power of yours. Pietro nodded, a sense of pride and excitement growing. Yeah, it feels right. Pietro said with a pleased smile on his face. Linda nodded, her expression turning serious. We should let the others know about this development. Pietro's smile dimmed slightly. You think they'll be happy about this? Linda shrugged her shoulders. I don't know, but I think they need to know. This is a huge development. Linda said. Pietro considered her words, then nodded. Okay, let's tell them. Then Caitlin walked in, and Linda and Pietro looked at each other, and then back at Caitlin. Caitlin, we have to tell you something. Pietro began. And what's that? Caitlin asked. I don't know how to explain this, but Pietro's speed is evolving in a way that is completely unlike anything I've ever seen before. His body is generating a unique kind of energy, one that seems to be amplifying his speed to where it's equal to the Flash, and since he gets faster every time he trains, he has the potential to be fast enough to beat Zoom. Linda said with enthusiasm. Caitlin gasped a bit. That's really interesting, and it is amazing, but we should get back to the others. Cisco and Jay are still working on the wand and the Flash is going to take on 3 criminals, and considering there's 3 of them and just the Flash, we're probably gonna need your help. Caitlin said. Okay, Pietro said, wiping a bit of sweat off his brow. While both Pietro and Linda left the room, Caitlin looked a bit panicked. I didn't expect them to find out this early. Caitlin thought to herself. As both Pietro and Linda walked in the cortex, a video was broadcast by the Trickster. As the Trickster was singing, Flashy the red-nosed speedster had a very shiny suit, and if you ever saw it, you might even want to puke. Merry Christmas, Kitty winks. I'm back. Ya know, the holidays can be a time for gentle reflection on the year past, our ups and downs, our triumphs and heartaches, but don't forget that it can also be a time for disemboweling our enemies. We don't have a trickster on Earth too, Jay said to Caitlin. He's one of a kind. Caitlin said back. No, my stocking won't be completely stuffed until it's filled to the brim with bloody Flash parts. The Trickster continued. Barry rolled his eyes and chuckled at the screen. So what do you say, Speed Freak? You want to roast chestnuts? The Trickster asked ominously. Are there any clues as to where he is based on the video? Barry asked. None that I can see. Cisco answered, walking over and sitting at his computer. Guys, there's a reflection of something in his cornea, see? Jay asked, pointing at the TV screen. What is that? Barry asked. Not sure, Caitlin said. Then as it zoomed in closer, Harry said, that's Mr. Jiggle Wiggle. Come again? Cisco asked, looking both curious and weirded out by the name. It's a toy, a stuffed children's toy I gave to my daughter when she was 6, Harry Wells said in a low voice. Mr. Jiggle Wiggle was manufactured by Okamura Toys, Yahtzee. Okamura once had a shipping facility in Central City that shut down 4 years ago, and has been abandoned ever since. Cisco said. What if Weather Wizard's there? The wand's not finished, Cisco said. Well, the Trickster is. Barry said. Pietro, you're coming with me, suit up, Quicksilver. Barry said to Pietro, so they both grabbed their suits and sped off. At the abandoned toy factory, Patty was the first to go in with a gun and a flashlight, looking everywhere she could. Then a flash of orange and white lightning sped in. What are you doing here? The Flash asked in his vibrating voice. Same thing as you two, trying to catch a murderer. Then to all 3 of their surprises, a doll was starting some music and singing, dreidel dreidel dreidel, I made it out of clay. We can't let Christmas hog all the holiday fun. Happy Hanukkah, dreidel dreidel dreidel, I made you out of C4, put that in your pipe and smoke it. The Trickster said in a recording device that was in the doll. As the spinning dreidels were surrounding all 3 of them, the Trickster said one more thing. I'm afraid we're looking at closed casket funerals. Pietro looked a bit panicked. There's nowhere for me to run as to. The Flash said. I don't see anywhere to run either. Quicksilver said fearfully. So what should we do? Patty asked, also sounding panicked. The Flash looks up. Hold on tight, I got an idea. He said to Patty. I'm seeing someone, Patty said. Me too. The Flash quickly says back. Quicksilver, do what I do, the Flash says to Quicksilver. Both the Flash, with Patty holding onto him, and Quicksilver used their arms to make strong wind currents that pushed them up to the air, and as the building exploded, they flew out through the roof, and landed safely near Patty's car. Patty was quickly walking to her car. Detective, the Flash called out to her. It was all just a trap for you two. Martin and Jesse aren't even here, they're still on the loose. Patty said. How did you know to come here? Quicksilver asked. 'Cause there was a reflection in Jess's eye of Mr. Jiggle Wiggle, and that's the thing my dad bought me when. It doesn't even matter, Patty said as she was about to walk away, but the Flash asked. Is that why you came here alone? Without any backup? Because of your father? You don't know anything about me. Patty said. I know that you're being reckless, and I'm sure the people in your life care about you enough to not want to see you get hurt. The Flash said. Except Martin didn't kill my father. I did. See, we had a little shoe shop, and we didn't have any money, so I worked there after school, except one day, I decided not to show up, because I was being stupid and silly with my friends. I didn't even call to tell him that I was ditching. So, he brought the deposits to the bank, not me. He was shot and killed by Martin, not me. Patty said to them. That's why you became a cop. And joined the metahuman task force? The Flash asked. Quicksilver quickly looked down in sad understanding. It'll be legal when I kill Martin. Patty said. I've made my whole life about getting justice for my father, even if it meant I didn't have a life. And now I have met a really great guy, and that doesn't even feel real to me, and I'm afraid he's going to find out how angry I am. Patty said sadly. I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Patty said, wiping a tear away. Sometimes it's just easier to say things to someone with no face, the Flash says. Thank you for saving me, Patty said, opening the door to her car. But before she got in, the Flash had one more thing to say. You know, even if you get this guy that wronged you, it doesn't always make things better. The Flash said. It has to be better than this, Patty said as she got in her car and drove off. The Flash took off his cowl, revealing Barry's sad expression. As much as I would like you to teach me how to do that thing with your voice, I just want to say that I understand her. Pietro said. What, you agree with her? Barry asked, sounding almost shocked. No, I'm not saying that I agree with her killing someone, but I understand her desire for revenge. Pietro said. Oh, well, I do too, especially everything I've done last year to get the man who killed my mother, and get justice for my father, but Patty can't do this, she would go to prison, and considering how much I care about her, I can't just let her do that. Pietro bowed his head, and shook his head yes in understanding. Then both Barry and Pietro sped off back to Star Labs.
End of Chapter 9 Part 1. Like I already mentioned before, this whole Part 1 Part 2 thing was not what I was really planning on, but I hope it's working out well. And I hope 26 minutes is short enough here. And no, I have no idea when Part 2 is going to come out, I haven't even written anything on it yet, cause I was so focused on this one. But please know that I am not quitting this. Please know that I am trying my hardest on all of these. See you all in Part 2, and I hope you'll all enjoy that one just as much as this one.